Good evening. Tonight, we begin with President Donald Trump's latest remarks on the U.S. economy, remarks that have sparked widespread debate and raised serious questions about his handling of inflation. According to newly released government data, consumer prices increased by 0.9% from June to July. To put that into perspective, experts had projected a modest rise of just 0.2%. Instead, the actual number came in at more than 4 times higher than expected, marking the steepest month-to-month jump in inflation in the last 3 years. For everyday Americans, the impact is already clear. From food and groceries to gas and basic household goods, people are paying significantly more today than they did even a year ago. But here's where the story takes a surprising turn. Instead of acknowledging the hardship, President Trump described this dramatic rise in inflation as, quote, a perfect number, a beautiful number. At one point, he even joked about the numbers being a little bit sexy. This is a striking reversal from just a year ago. During the Biden administration, Trump and Republican leaders relentlessly criticized inflation, even when it was trending downward. Back then, a 0.9% monthly increase would have been framed as an economic disaster. Today, under Trump's leadership, the same figures are suddenly being described as a success. Economists, however, aren't buying it. Financial analysts say this spike is not only unsustainable, but also dangerous for the long-term health of the economy. Business leaders have repeatedly warned that rising costs are already cutting into consumer spending power, slowing investment, and hurting confidence in the markets. And for ordinary Americans, the reality is impossible to ignore. Walk into any grocery store, and you'll see higher prices on nearly every shelf. One shopper told us she was shocked by the price of basic items, noting that even things as simple as bread, milk, and eggs cost noticeably more than just a few weeks ago. Another shopper said, "I used to think online groceries had a markup, but now I realize it's the same in store. Prices are just climbing everywhere." This disconnect between the lived experiences of everyday citizens and the optimistic spin coming from the White House is what critics are calling textbook gaslighting. The president insists inflation is good, while families across the country struggle to balance their budgets. Historically, inflation at this pace erodes purchasing power, forcing households to make difficult choices, cutting back on non-essential items, delaying larger purchases, and even dipping into savings just to make ends meet. Experts warn that if inflation continues unchecked, it could lead to rising interest rates, slower job growth, and economic instability. Political analysts are also weighing in. They argue that Trump's framing of inflation as perfect is part of a broader strategy to reshape the narrative, to convince the public that what feels like economic pain is actually economic strength. But opponents say the numbers tell a different story: higher prices, tighter wallets, and growing frustration among voters. For now, the White House is sticking to its message. Trump insists the country needs this kind of inflation, and that Americans should simply adapt. But with consumer confidence already showing signs of decline, many fear the gap between political rhetoric and reality could only deepen. One thing remains certain: whether you're shopping online or in person, filling up your car, or paying your bills, you've likely felt the impact of these rising costs in your own life. And as this debate over inflation continues, the question is not just about numbers on a chart. It's about how those numbers are reshaping the daily lives of millions of Americans. That's all for tonight's report. We'll continue to follow the story and bring you updates as new data becomes available. Stay with us for more analysis, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share as we head towards a major milestone.